once again. This Triple A, my name is Kwasi. Today is a special day for our wonderful ladies and for us men. We're going to have an interesting conversation. I believe you're going to stay with us for the next 60 minutes. We're going to have an insightful one. If you know what today is, just kindly send it in the comment section. I just want you to just join the conversation, enjoy what we have today. If you don't know what today is, then I have the singular honor to tell you that today is a Menstrual Hygiene Day. And today, Triple in collaboration with these amazing speakers, we want to have a conversation around it. We want to learn from their expertise. We want to also share our own experience with this before we go on. So the title of our discussion today being the Menstrual Hygiene Day, is menstrual health and illness. From physical, uh, mental health aspects that comes with just because you are kind of flowing them and some of the things that you go through. And today we have enough expertise from these amazing speakers. Without wasting more time, I would want to go to my first speaker with us. I would want her to introduce herself, then I'll move on to the others. So Aarona, and I said Aroma because when we were in school, there was a SRC secretary who was Aroma. So I nearly made that, but forgive me. Aarona, please kindly introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, and then we continue the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Kwasi. It's a pleasure to be here once again. And my name is Aarona, as he rightly said, Aarona Afriyie Owusu. And I'm an enthusiast for UNSDG Goal 3. I'm a menstrual health advocate, but specifically, I'm more into the polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is not mutually exclusive from menstrual health issues. So I'm actually the founder of a peer support group that focuses on PCOS, which is the polycystic ovarian syndrome, called Tales of Teal. So that's what I basically do. Thank you.
Thank you. You just mentioned some vocabulary there that we'll get into that later. I would want Dr. Elizabeth Quarshie. I think I have a brief bio of you here. I would want to read that and then we continue. Okay. Dr. Kwasi is a medical doctor who doubles as a women advocate and a storyteller, bridging medicine and storytelling to shine light on women experience far beyond statistics. In the past, through her personal blog, she's been featured in Young Africans magazine and medical student publication. She shares stories that drive conversation around women health and rights. Her lifelong commitment is to echo the pertinent stories of women long ignored, overlooked, and simply misunderstood in rooms where it matters most. Beyond healthcare, she is on a mission to help women flourish in career, business, and relationship and personal growth through education and empowerment. When she's not wearing the hat of a doctor or advocate, the best way to unwind is indoors with a good fiction book and of course some chocolate to spark the joy. That's interesting. Is there anything I missed with your introduction? If you want to add to it, a little bit about you that our audience may not know.
Oh no, everything was quite spot on. Thank you very much for that introduction, Kwasi.
All right, all right. We are waiting for our third speaker, Mr. Nicholas, to be joining us. Today, audience, if you are joining us, today is a special
I'm
day
here,
for women.
sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah, great. Unfortunately, I don't have your bio, so within some few minutes, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, why you do what you do, so that our audience will get to acquaint themselves with you before the conversation starts?
All right. Good evening, everyone. First and first, my sincere apologies. My camera is off. Um, I communicated that earlier. So, my name is Ugwuanyi Nicholas. Um, basically, by the grace and virtue of the Almighty, I founded a registered non-profit organization with a campaign project, Give Us a Part Save a Girl Child. We are dominantly officiated and mandated to eradicating period poverty, menstruation, stigmas, and taboos, and we do all of that with good storytelling, strong advocacy, and we are scaling up with an innovation, trusting God, or piloting real soon, a solar-powered eco-friendly menstrual health system where we are looking into good sustainability costs across environmental waste, climate change, and wash. So, dominantly, it's all of this passion, commitment stems from a personal experience I had, which I trust God as we buttress. I'll have a lot to say about that. It is just menstrual health hygiene for me, and I'm glad to be here alongside these amazing, beautiful ladies, and you also the host. Thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure to find a fellow guy in the midst of a lonely journey. Sometimes when we step into these roles, we are often seen as a lone ranger. So it's a privilege meeting you, sir. Before we go into the questions that we've been sent, I just want to just kind of ask you what today means to you. I believe we've had several menstrual hygiene days, but what makes today special in your own opinion? I'll start with Mr. Nicholas. They used to say ladies first, but come on, we are in a conversation of ladies. So guys will go first, and then I'll come to Dr. Kwasi, and then Aarona will go last. So what does today mean to you as an advocate, and then your experience compared to the past? Thank you.
All right. So, for me, yeah, I have since okay. So I should literally just say this. Maybe kind of like connect the first question to this, if that's okay.
Oh, this is just
Is
kind of the beginning of the conversation because today is a special day.
yeah. All
Kind
right.
of.
All right.
So I just want to get your initial perspective of what a day has been. Mine has been touring because people had to go to a village called Pumaze. I was in, I don't know where you were, there, tricycle with 15 buckets of pad. Yesterday I was stranded. People were watching me. It was the whole experience. So at the end of the day, we had girls that we had a workshop with, and it was so kind of relieving because all the stress was not for fun. I think we had guys who joined in for the first time. It was fun. Teachers were asking questions, and it was a great experience for me. But I just wanted to know how your day went and how today meant to you as an advocate. That's all.
All right. Thank you so much, dear host. So first thing first, my camera isn't turned off right now because I am somewhere in a rural community called Tama in Nasarawa. So what we do is as part of our holistic approach to our campaign project, we have our pad banks planted across our beneficiary states. We are, by God's grace, right now planted across 5 states, and Nasarawa State is one of our benefiting states. So we extended an outreach to a community in Tama and the government girls secondary school in Tama, Nasarawa as well. So we did all of that. I had good interaction section with the girls. We used good storytelling to make stories, talk around menstrual taboos. And we also made use good of traditional storytelling as well to communicate with the rural girls and women in the rural communities. We had a good time, interacting with the traditional rulers, the stakeholders, and it was awesome. So for me, menstrual, what else menstrual day for me is me and our organization shedding light on the memories of my beloved friend Monica. So I trust God as we buttress, we will get to know why I'm saying this. But for me, it's all about having to make sure no girl, regardless of our vulnerability, regardless of our aristocratic background notwithstanding, have to face the tragic story moment my friend Monica faced. Yeah, so for me it is an emotional missed day for me always. But to the fact that the glory of God is being seen and Monica's story is being lighted a candle on, we are prepared to eradicating pure poverty. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. With a bit of storytelling, I'll go to Dr. Kwasi. I think that's your purview. What does this day mean to you? How did you celebrate it? Will you share a bit of how Nicholas was saying how emotional the day was? How did your day go, and how does today mean to you as an advocate?
Thank you very much, Chrissy. So, like Nicholas was saying, today is a very it's a very important day in the lives of most women and girls all over the world. And I think it's important that today is acknowledged and celebrated by every one of us. Nicholas has a very touching story. You can see where his advocacy for menstrual hygiene already begins from as he tells his story about his friend Monica. And then for me today, I've actually been chill. I've been at home. I didn't really go anywhere today. But as an advocate of menstrual hygiene, every day to me is advocacy day. But I am glad that at least for women and girls all over the world, there is one particular day that the world recognizes that we can use this day to talk about menstrual hygiene or menstrual health, raise awareness, and add our voices to such an important cause. And then, as the theme highlights that we are coming together for a period friendly world, it is through things like this that we'll be able to advance the conversations. If we don't have a day for it, where do we even start from? So it's important that days like this are commemorated, whether you are in the village doing your advocacy, whether you are online shouting or making noise about menstruation, the little you are doing in your community or your home is quite important. So today for me is actually a very important day. Every day that celebrates women is an important day to me. So yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I think you made great valid points there. If there's no a day for us to talk about it, then where do we start from? Where do we start changing the narrative from? Aarona, can you share that experience and how today means to you?
Okay, so thank you. I think my two other able speakers, they've said a lot, and I think it's well for me personally today. I've also been work basically, and it's not like probably 2 years ago when I was actively on ground. 2 years ago, I would have been on a donation exercise on this day, but because of my switch into law, I've been more focused on law school lately, so I don't do much of the advocacy, but in our own small way, we are all advocates, and as the theme says, together for a period friendly world. So it's not a matter of a gender biased thing. Women and men are all on board, and together we have to do it for a period friendly world because we have sisters, we have mothers, and I think period affects every home in one way or the other. So that's it that I can say. And I'm glad that the world is actually coming to that realization. And I'm super proud that men are actually on board. Um, I'm a Chima Amanda kind of feminist, if you know her. So she is more of,
I
yeah.
do,
So
I do,
I
I do,
love
I
it.
do.
I love it when men are actually rooting for feminine causes. It's one of the things that really makes me happy. And I'm actually proud that Nicholas is here to represent that. And I commend him for that. So, and you are here too. Yes. So I commend both of you for that and every other male out there who is watching us. So thank you. That's the little I can say.
Yeah, the name Chimamanda Ngozi brings memories of um, 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 gender balance and everything. I think I'm also a fan. I don't know why, but her writing inspires me. Her TED talk is something that is even on my status today. So that's
She's a
amazing.
queen.
Yeah. So we want to get into the conversation. So if you are joining us, we're just having a conversation aimed to break down the stigma. We want to learn about menstrual health in relation to anemia, period poverty, and how it affects our mental health as well. So if you are joining us, stay with us for the next 1 hour. We're having an interesting conversation, and we want to learn from. Or the first person we want to learn from is a period advocate, menstrual advocate, turned lawyer. Um, I want to look at. I want to give you the floor to do a brief presentation on your advocacy and policy change. As a passionate advocate against period poverty and then the taxation of menstrual products in Ghana, what strategies have you found most effective in mobilizing support in influencing policy change in this area? Because now that the dollar is going down, everybody is like, let's reduce TMT, let's reduce, but menstrual pass essentially, but it's not even part of the it's not part of the conversation. How do we go from where do we move from here, Aarona?
Okay. So, first of all, I think I'll commend the CSOs, the civil society organizations, because they have played a very crucial role. I think about 3 years ago, there was a demonstration by CSOs to reduce the luxury taxes on sanitary products, and it really sunk deep into the stakeholders involved when it comes to this. So CSOs are doing well. Lately, their works are becoming visible, and it's because of that visibility that is why we are even here ourselves having this talk. So when it comes to the advocacy, well, I would say that first and foremost, demonstrations has been an effective thing for me because I quite remember that demonstration 3 years ago, and it was through that the Eswell administration, the Akufo-Addo-led administration, took the VATs from the sanitary products that we have. So I would say that has gone a long way, and also the social media, the media. In recent times, the media is quite loud on Menstrual Health Day, and so it has also played a crucial role when it comes to that. So I think the government is more is the most important stakeholder when it comes to these policy changes. And if the Israel government has reduced or has taken away tax, and I think the recent government has also placed some imports free on whoever produces sanitary products locally in the country. And I think there is this sharing of sanitary pads in schools. They're all going a long way when it comes to the advocacy. But the issue we have to be focusing on is the sustainability, because girls don't actually menstruate just in May. It looks like it's only in May that we make the whole noise. Okay, we go crazy about it, but we menstruate every other month of the year. So what happens from January to December? That is the issue here. So I think we should focus on the sustainability, investing more in businesses to actually to establish businesses that will mainly focus on producing the sanitary parts. And I think if we do it will go a long way in affecting the pricing, because if you are patronizing made in Ghana, we all know what that can do for us. Because usually the parts that we use are all foreign, they are all imported. And it's a factor why most of the prices are up and we cannot afford, leading to period poverty. So I think we should do something about locally produced sanitary pads. We should focus more on its investment and focus more on making loud the menstrual issue from January to December instead of making it loud only in May. Yeah, so that's what I can say when it comes to that.
Okay. Before I go to the next question, what's your view on? I'm just wondering your view on using disposable and reusable parts. Do you think that Ghana will get to a point where we'll have a situation where we don't even use disposable pads anymore, but with the whole we have a cultural change where we are concerned about the environment so much that reusable pads or reusable kits is what is being used. Just a follow up to that.
Okay, so yes, climate is a talk on the table. Yes, worldwide, climate is a talk on the table. And when it comes to reusable parts, for me personally, I don't know I can't speak from the medical perspective into detail, but I have an issue when it comes to the health um I am the health side of it, because I feel like, oh, for instance, let's just say you put there a towel, you use a towel, and then no matter how much you wash it, I don't think it will be too clean enough. That is why we are even advised to be using on a regular day, we are even advised to be using panty liners so that right after you end your day, you just remove it and then you drop it in the bin just for the health to prevent the health hazards or anything. So yes, we may be that talk may be on the table, but for me personally, I don't fully buy the reusable part because of the health concerns that I think may arise from it. Yeah.
Okay. So before I continue, I don't know whether doctor you have 2 cents to share on this before I come back to Aarona.
Sure, I see. So, with regards to what Aarona raised in concern with the health concerns about the reusable part, I I see her points and I agree with her. But in line with what we are talking about, that period poverty is something that affects millions of girls. And the whole reason for this conversation, the reason why we're having this conversation this evening, is because there are women and girls worldwide who may not even have enough money to be buying the disposable parts and have access to the menstrual products. As we initially established, that some of these products tend to be quite expensive at the moment for the average girl in the rural area to even be able to afford. So, yes, there may be issues or concerns with the health aspects, but what we can do is to increase education on how they can properly manage themselves. So, if you are going to use the reusable sanitary cloth, you need to be educated on how long you can wear it, what are you supposed to wash it with, how are you even supposed to dry it. There are people who air dry their underwears, and we advise against that. You have to dry them in the sun, iron your underwears, and all of that. So there are ways we can go about it. Yes, there are definitely issues or concerns with increasing infection, which is what we are even trying to prevent by advocating for more women to have access to quality menstrual products. But the question of reusable sanitary pads we shouldn't just boot it out of the conversation. I think we rather should find ways to go around it, that in case there are women, because there will always be women who would be poor. Not all of us can attain the status where we can afford the disposable one. So for women in such conditions or situations, we should look forward to how can we educate them, what are the ways we can go around it, just in case if they would like to use the reusable parts or the reusable sanitary cloths. We educate them on the methods they can go through while using them to avoid or prevent infection as much as possible. So that's the little I'd like to add to what.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Aarona, I'm back to you again. I want you to combine the last 2 questions in the next 4 or 5 minutes before I go to Nicholas. The question I want to ask is the mental health and then the P, PCSO. Could you help us? How do you address this mental health challenge associated with menstruation and what you just mentioned, and what you do, the peer group that and the support system that you recommend for women dealing with this issue? And then as a law student, I also want to find out is there any UN sustainable goals that you see can form an intersection with a legal framework where we are not just talking about promoting just reproductive health, but we are giving access to, as Dr. Elizabeth said, quality menstrual product that will not have any health implications. Thank
Mm,
you.
yeah. Okay. So I think you said PCSO. The doctor is here. The doctor should be actually maybe whipping you by now for saying PCSO. So it's actually PCO,
Peace. Oh, okay.
polycystic
Sorry. Polycystic.
syndrome.
Yeah. The ovarian syndrome. Yes.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes.
I was bad in science. The way I bombed in science. Forgive me.
I'll leave you to doctor. Okay, so the PCOS, that's the polycystic ovarian syndrome. So it's not as if it was something that was just started out of the blue, or I just felt like, oh, I want to do something, and then, oh yeah, peace. No, so it's actually something that I was diagnosed with when I was I had actually lived with this being a teenage girl, yes, till now. So I've lived with it for over 10 years now, I can say. So how it started, why I started the advocacy group was that at a point I went into serious phase of depression, and I had even wanted to commit suicide at a point. And I didn't know it was actually stemming from the fact that I had PCOS. I didn't know that. But lucky enough, I met a lady on LinkedIn, and she's a lawyer. She was running like a group, bring girls together, and then help them shape their life, career wise, personal life, those kind of things. And then through that conversation, she advised that I go for therapy. So I did the therapy for 6 months, and it really helped a lot. It helped so much, so much. I became way better. So I sat down and I thought that, oh, somebody has actually impacted my life. So what do I do for others out there? And the thing about PCOS is that I think probably one day we should have a full talk about it, and doctor should give us the technical side of it. Is that it's actually a common thing, but most women live with it and they don't know about it. Yes, it's something we live with almost every day, and most women don't know about it. So that was how I wanted to make an impact to the women out there who don't know about it. So I started that advocacy group, like a peer support group. So bring all women together and girls who are going through that PCOS. And then it's like you having a community where people understand what you go through on a daily basis. You share your story and you are not judged because somebody has a similar story. So that's how we are able to support people out there. And I also have health professionals on board, like gynecologists, dietitians, who actually help these girls in line with their health needs. Some are concerned with, maybe they want to heal from depression, others want to give birth. Everybody has their own, it differs from woman to woman how everybody faces it. So these health professionals help you based on whatever need that you have. So that's what basically Tales of Teal does. We are just a peer support group, and that's what we do. So about how law can be infused to help promote advocacy for menstrual hygiene, or the talk on menstruation. I think when it comes to UNSDGs, I will place it under UNSDG 3, which is more focused on the health aspect. Yes. Not really, it's not technically focused on the health aspect, but in a way we can fuse it under UNSDG 3. Yes. So for the law, I think one time there was this comprehensive sexuality education thing that was trying to be infused in the syllables, and there was a whole brouhaha about it in the media. And I think that incorporation was a good way to teach about menstrual hygiene. Yes, aside maybe the whole other things that may come up aside it, but I think it was a good thing to teach on menstrual hygiene. But even if it's not done, I think in our own way, well, when I was young, I did something like social studies. I don't know if it has changed, but I think in social studies, we do a little of menstrual talk. And I think even in science, integrated science, you have to do that, because I can't remember my integrated science teacher. We used to talk about reproduction, and I think it all falls under that. So it's a matter of the top, the parliamentarians, because they are the lawmakers. I think we should find a way to infuse it into our syllables. how we are going to manage that. Yeah, we should find a way to infuse that into our syllables. I think it just boils down basically to education, how we are going to infuse it into our education system, because once it's in the fundamentals, we grow up with it. Yes, so that's what I can say.
All right. Thank you very much for that presentation. If you're enjoying the comment, you are enjoying the conversation. I would want you to join us. We are not. We don't want to be alone, even though we are four. I want you to just send in the comment section what you've learned so far, and especially from the guys. Share what you've learned so far, and then we continue. I just want to, Nicholas. Are you with us? Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I'm
my
here.
first question is a chemical engineer. What are you doing with menstrual hygiene? What inspired you to transition to that? And then we look at the other two questions after. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. So, please confirm if you can hear me, please. Sorry.
I can hear you, sir.
All right. So, yes. My journey into menstrual health advocacy um was not born from statistics or from strategy. You know, it was born from pain. Apparently, I lost a beloved friend to sexual abuse, an incident that occurred because she was vulnerable, she was desperate, and couldn't afford something as basic as sanitary pads. You know, our story was like that of many girls, revealed a crude truth, like that pure poverty doesn't stain dignity. Like it takes life. Like it is so really profound. We make it as realistic and as crude as possible that period poverty takes life, and this is a shared experience. Like this is a sad truth. This is my story, so realistic. That tragic loss like ignited a fire in me. As of the time we were like in different city in Nigeria. I was in school. She was somewhere in Kogi State. I won't forget that very day. Prior to when I left school, she was born from like not an aristocratic background per se, where they barely struggle to have the basic needs, like even eat good square meals. You know what I'm trying to say? And apparently, reasons why I tend to be so very dogged on educating our main genders is because our dad played one of the pivotal role in our being marginalized, victimized, and being vulnerable. Because as male genders, we should try as much as we can, first thing first, to be in tuned with this basic menstrual education. Secondly, we lose sight of the fact that we have single fathers who raise girls, apparently. We lose sight of the fact that we have male guardians who raise the girl child. And it feels so sad when they're going to end up raising these girls outside the scope of their menstrual health management. You see fathers go out there trying to make the daily needs happen, try to get groceries from the mall, and they don't feel the need to pick up a sanitary pad. Why? Because they are so far from reality, you know. Um, Prior to when I left the city back to school, she was struggling there and there for her menstrual cycles. So there was this guy then, his name Tunde, I won't forget that name. So this guy would always get a menstrual product. So one of the times, I think some days before her period was gonna come, this guy was like, okay, come around. She went there and this guy made himself on her, like forced himself legitly on her. She bled profusely. This guy ran away. Help came eventually. She was rushed to the hospital. She bled profusely. Getting to the hospital, they tried all they could. There were talks like her bladder was vandalized. The bleeding went so very hard on her, and eventually she passed on. And this was me in school. Got the call. I rushed down to Kogi State from Port Harcourt as of the time. Came to the hospital. It was a shocker for me. It was an eye opener for me because I I never knew something as period poverty literally even existed. I never knew something as period poverty could legitimately have taken the life of my friend, a very beloved good friend of mine. You know, I took out my first survey, and that was all like, wow, like people are really affected by this, and I never knew. How that opened me up to the realities of the crudity of society, and I knew I couldn't stand by and watch others suffer the same fate in silence. That was how God helping me, I bettered Nicholasmotivates initiative and our campaign project, Give Her to Part Save a Girl Child. Through this, we began to build pad banks, offer community educations, and advocate for policy reforms. Just as one of our speakers said, we are in talks engaging stakeholders to see how period poverty, menstrual hygiene management is being inculcated to the school curriculums. You know, girls should be taught about how to manage self. The male genders in class should be taught about how to be a substantial support to the female genders as it relates to their menstrual health. You know, and the truth is, Monica's memory became my mission. To turn my grief into hope for countless others. And it is so for real, or so surreal rather, where we started an advocacy 2021, just by wanting to reach out to communities, to IDP camps, to correctional centers, and today, God helping, the organization we're trying to scale into an innovation. And if you'd permit me to just buttress to the old reusable pads talks as of the time, we are missing out on something so very pivotal, which is our environment. Disposable pads, do we really know that these pads are made from non biodegradable materials, and it takes over 20 years for them to decay? These things are being disposed, cause so much harms to the environment, and we don't suffer them because we are not despair. We are not in rural communities. Persons in IDP camps, them in the villages, they suffer this. Why? Like, talk about floods and all of this, but it's just a lot to talk about. But this is literally what ignited my passion for menstrual health. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you very much. I think your take of the health and the menstrual pad thing is also very important. I want you to combine the last two questions for me in maybe the next 4 or 5 minutes. If you can elaborate the impact you've observed when it comes to girls, mental health impact you've observed among girls facing um, period poverty, because the story that you just shared come from a one-on-one experience that nobody would want to revisit. And how has your initiative addressed this psychological aspect? And then what strategies have you found to be most effective, especially in engaging young allies and community leaders to combat menstrual stigma and then promote reproductive health education? Thank you.
All right. Um, Let me just put this out there. The period poverty literally chips away a girl's sense of self worth. I'm so sorry. The truth is, when a girl is forced to stay at home from school, because she lacks a pad, or when she's mocked or isolated due to stained clothing, her mental health silently deteriorates. Like, it happens subconsciously. And this is where you see shame replaces confidence. You see anxiety replaces participation. Now, over time, this begins to erode our self-esteem and eventually creates a cycle of emotional trauma. The truth is, period poverty is more psychological than physical. It is more internally self dangerous than what we foresee in the eyes, And to address this, we must create a safe space for conversations, normalize menstrual health discussions just like this, even in schools and communities, just like we are doing, creating pad banks, around communities. And also, more very important, integrating psychological support into menstrual programs. Because when you give these girls a safe place to be able to talk, it will wow you the level of stigmatization they have suffered. And God helping us also, our approach also includes engaging trade counselors, doing outreaches, integrating mental health education into our pad banks model. The healing must be like very realistic, very ho- holistic, you know, and physical provision and as well as emotional restoration must work hand in hand when putting up this psychological help. Now, what strategy help bring male alliance, right, and lead us into menstrual health efforts? Honestly, men are not outside in this conversation because we are stakeholders. When I talk to male genders in the table discussing period poverty, I call them stakeholders. One of our strongest strategy is narrative engagement, like sharing stories like this, you know, that humanize period poverty and show its impact on sisters, daughters, wives, and friends. Let me just connect a very pivotal impact of storytelling. In Africa, okay, in Nigeria, as it were, we have minimally as about 30 to 40 traditional dialects, languages. Do you know how well of an efficacy we can create with storytelling and wanting to dismantle pure poverty? Or we are not just being more intentional with having to communicate the core ill peeled pain of pure poverty? Because when we do these things with storytelling, it will wow us how so illuminating we get to communicate and pass this information to people. And also, we also conduct community dialogues, where men are invited to listen, learn, and lead. We teach them that advocacy is not just a woman's fight, it's a collective woman duty, which buttresses down to even parents, more specifically, as I mentioned, single fathers and male guardians raising up girls in the home. In our campaigns, we intentionally position male champions and community heads like visible supporters because this thing now puts up a very welcoming, warm psychological atmosphere. And funny fact is, like, we name pad banks after men, to show commitment. Like one of our very uh pivotal, strong strength and supporter, Mr. Dr. Dele Bandojo. We named the pad bank we erected in Ekiti State after his name, which sends a message that men not only care, but they act, you know. And it's not about bringing men into it, it's about awakening the part of them that knows that they belong here too, you know. To just wrap this thing off, I'll just put it out there that period poverty for me can be everything to me as it is to every single person. However, from different narratives, different views, different insights. But the goal and the champion is having to create a society one day where every girl, regardless, myself, as a male gender, a female gender could initiate conversations about menstruation, zero stigma, zero shame. We have laid down policies where every girl could just walk into an outlet, pick up products, and have to experience the joy, dignity, respect, and self-esteem instilled in managing our period poverty. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You made a wonderful statement that I feel every man watching. We are not calling men just to be involved. We are calling men who will contribute, and because we also care. And then the introduction of the doctor, the bang name of the doctor will send a clear message. Thank you very much for that wonderful submission. If you are joining us still, send in the comment section. Join us. Hopefully, we are about to hear from one of Ghana's finest. I believe you are claiming you are Ghanaian, right? Yes. The reason why I'm so excited for this speaker is because of her passion on storytelling. I'm a fan of storytelling. So, Dr. Elizabeth Quarshie, storytelling has, we've heard, I'm a digital marketer, it's been all around. But how do you envisage that we can use as a tool for social impact? And we can use it to destigmatize menstruation and then communicate properly what menstrual health is really about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kwasi. So, like we just heard from our last speaker, Mr. Nicholas, you could see the passion in Mr. Nicholas's voice when he was talking about the issue that happened with his late friend Monica. May her soul rest in perfect peace. I would first like to offer my condolences to Mr. Nicholas that whatever happened to her friend is quite unfortunate. And I just want to say that we really do not need to reach such lengths as a society. Women do not have to get to the point of lifelessness before we see the need to echo stories about menstrual hygiene, menstrual health, period poverty. So you could see from Mr. Nicholas's experience that having experienced firsthand what the impacts of period poverty can lead to, he is now a passionate advocate for the cause of menstrual hygiene, and then it translates in everything that he is doing. So I'd like to commend him. He has done very well. It is not everybody who is able to translate pain into purpose in that way, that even through his pain, he learned something, and then he's using that to prevent such from happening to many other girls or women all over the world. So thank you very much, Mr. Nicholas. And then earlier on, before we started the whole talk, Aarona spoke about Chimamanda, and I don't know if you noticed the excitement that was on my face, because Chimamanda is literally she's my favorite woman on earth. She's my role model. I call her my mommy. And my journey to storytelling even began with her. She inspired me a lot to become, I'm a writer, by the way, but for the longest time, I wouldn't put my works out there. I wasn't writing. I knew I could write, and I would write stories for myself, but then I wouldn't share. So I discovered Chimamanda, and through her, I became bold enough. I started sharing some of my stories online through my blogs and all of that. But because of my work, for a while now, I've taken a break from writing. But now I'm on LinkedIn and I'm sharing stories. I consider myself a storyteller. I try to use storytelling to propagate issues about women or issues that I care about. And we've seen a clear-cut example this very evening, even right from Mr. Nicholas's example. Storytelling, what does storytelling do? Storytelling humanizes data. You can go over the world, you can go around shouting, 1 in 10 girls miss school because of their period. You can go and say, oh, millions of women are dying because of period poverty. not having access to quality menstrual products to maintain dignity during menstruation. But what really is the picture that comes to mind when you mention these numbers and these facts? You cannot really picture anybody. But as we heard Mr. Nicholas's story about his dear friend Monica, you could see how we're all touched, how we're all moved. All of a sudden, we can now put a face to one of those 10 girls who suffer because of the lack of access to just something as common as a good menstrual pad or something as common as access to menstrual products. We can now put a face to that data. And so that is the power of storytelling. And that is why, to me, storytelling is such a big tool in my advocacy journey, that whatever I do, whatever I am advocating for, I always begin with a story, because human beings, we connect to each other through storytelling. And the good thing about storytelling that I really love is that it doesn't even have to be real. We don't need to wait for stories to be real. That is why we have an entire genre of literature called fiction. If you're a lover of fiction, you know that you can read a fiction book, you can read a well-crafted story, and you get so invested in the story, you forget it's not even real life. So we can harness from that power of literature, that power of storytelling, to propagate the message of menstruation and good menstrual hygiene all across the world. You can make up stories, you can give faces to these innocent girls and women by using storytelling to show the world that, oh, we are saying that 1 in 10 girls miss school, we are saying that millions of girls miss school, but who are these women? You use storytelling to give the women names, you give them faces, you give them dreams and ambitions. What are the dreams that were lost when a girl was not able to sit for her final exam because she could not afford a pad and she was so afraid of messing herself? She failed to write her final exam, and now she's a school dropout. She will not move to the next level of her educational career. What happens to such a girl? You can put a face to a girl who had to resort to sleeping with men or having to do something she didn't need to do just because she wanted money to afford a sanitary pad. Teenage pregnancies, most teenagers who come into the hospital pregnant, when you ask them very well, you delve deep into the cause of the pregnancy, you could see that it is just because they wanted help with something, and an innocent man or a wicked person took advantage of an innocent girl. So that is what storytelling does. We're able to connect with each other. We're able to see the faces of these girls who are going through this. And we realize that behind all this data, it is human beings who are there. It is human beings that we are talking about. We are not just shouting numbers because we want to create awareness, or we are making these numbers up. And then storytelling also amplifies the conversation around menstruation. Under the theme of menstrual hygiene, today's menstrual hygiene day, this year's one, we're saying that we want to create a period-friendly world. And again, how would we create a period-friendly world if we are not even starting the conversations? Human beings will connect more to stories, and by sharing their stories, if aunties are sharing their stories in their communities, if a mother is comfortable enough to share the story of her menstrual journey, how she's able to manage herself, what she went through growing up, what she's doing differently with her daughter, the daughter will come to realize that talking about periods is normal. It's not anything weird. She shouldn't be afraid. She shouldn't be shy. If our grandmothers, if women in the community are comfortable enough to share stories, their personal stories about menstruation and whatever it comes with little girls coming up, they would grow up even before they start having periods, knowing that, oh, something as natural as menstruation will happen to me at a certain point in my life, and it is normal. It is not a secret. I don't have to go and hide anywhere when this thing begins, because they will grow up seeing older women, they will grow up seeing men, they will grow up seeing people they respect, their pastors, community leaders. They will grow up hearing people talk about this thing normally. So when it comes, this is not something that you should be afraid of, you should be shy of, or you should be ashamed of, because it is a phenomenon that happens to half the population of the world. Almost half. Women are almost half the population of the world, right? So that is what storytelling does. If we want to destigmatize stories around menstruation, we need to start by having the conversation. And a good way to have the conversation and connect is by using storytelling, because storytelling will connect more with each other than just the mere mention of data and then facts. Thank you, PC.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think one point that stood with me is that storytelling kind of puts a human face to data. So if you are, I think what you said is spot on. As a data analytic myself, sometimes the numbers confuses, so the facts more or less kind of appear to your logical side and everything. But when we use storytelling, that is where we can connect people on a deeper level. Thank you for sharing that. Now I want to go to another important aspect, which I want you to just kind of give us all the medical details on it, addressing anemia in menstruation. How you have effective tools and strategies that women can use, especially when it comes to menstrual related anemias. That young woman in my village at the church was Benin will know that this is what I have. I have this anemia because of my menstrual hygiene. And what strategies do I have to use to eradicate all these and fight against them? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So in addressing your question, we mostly the women who are facing the issues of period poverty, most of these women and girls are found in the rural communities. And by the time we get to a point where a woman is unable to afford a sanitary pad, is unable to even afford access to the products that will help her maintain dignity during menstruation, it is not far-fetched for us to also believe that even getting access to the right nutrient-rich foods for such women would also be a problem, because period poverty is an issue for most of us who live in low middle income societies coming from low socioeconomic backgrounds. So under normal circumstances, menstrual anemia, the amount of blood we lose as women during menstruation should not be too much to impact the level of our blood to cause anemia in that sense. But if a lot of factors are combining, like not feeding properly, the foods not having enough nutrients, and by the time you are also not managing your menstrual hygiene well, proning yourself to infection, these factors combined are the reasons why most girls would then have to now combat this issue called menstrual anemia. So what we can do, or what communities can now put in place to combat menstrual anemia, is that we can start from organizing programs, or even community leaders taking it upon themselves to provide access to nutrient-rich foods for these girls. If it is possible to have the support of NGOs or community leaders, somebody taking it upon themselves to ensure that during menstruation or during the period of menstruation, girls have access to nutrient-rich foods which are very rich in iron. And these iron-rich foods are just our normal foods, the foods that we're exposed to: red meats, our green leafy vegetables. If the women are having access to these foods and they're able to consume them, that should help them. And then everything also starts with education. There are women who do not even know that when they consume certain types of foods, it will boost their iron levels and then help to prevent menstrual anemia. So if there's a nutritionist available in the community, we could get a community nutritionist who would then go around educating these women and girls that, oh, this and this type of food is good for you. So when you're nearing your period, you can try and take more of them. That would also be very beneficial to our women and then our girls. Lastly, we can also incorporate some school-based curriculums as well, teaching young girls from a very young age the type of the type of foods they can consume, and also how to even manage themselves during the menstrual process. Because like I said, if you're unable to keep yourself well, maintain good hygiene, you are prone, or you are opening yourself up to infection. And these infections will then lead back to you having the anemia. So it will go back to everything that we've been saying, that it is imperative for us to make it a point to make sure that these girls have access to these products. Because if they have access to the quality products, they're able to maintain their hygiene well, then there would be no need for them to, we wouldn't even have the infections happening, and then we would have prevented the anemia from even occurring before we even come and think of treating it. But in any case, if the anemia has also happened already, we can fortify their meals and ensure that we bring it back to the normal levels. And then the last thing I also like to add is that communities can also roll out iron and folic acid supplementation. Women of reproductive age are allowed to, in fact, we are even advised and encouraged to be taking folic acid. And you can take it for life. You can take the minimum dose, which is 5 milligrams. That's the recommended dose by the WHO. You're allowed to take it for life. But as usual, these women in these rural communities may not even have access to them. So it comes back to us as a people. If we have policies, if we have community leaders who understand menstruation, who care about women and girls in this way, they will make available interventions like that where they roll out folic acid and then iron supplements. So the girls who are not able to afford the nutritious foods, they can use the supplement as a backup to also prevent the menstrual anemia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This is free consultation, knowledge based. Giving us prescription. Please, I'll be putting our Momo number there. You're getting consultation for free. So those watching, kindly send your. I don't know what I would charge $300 for this consultation. Thank you very much for the insight. A quick one. Our time is almost up, audience. We said 1 hour. Forgive us because we are sharing much value. I want doctor to take the last question within the shortest possible time. Then I come to your comments. Then I come back to my speakers for their last words, and then we look at the future, and then we end. So stay with me, Doctor. Considering your advocacy for women's rights and health education, how can mental health support be integrated to this Ghanaian existing health service? I wonder, to assist women experience psychological challenge who are experiencing psychological challenges which are related to menstrual hygiene. I'm laughing because even in the normal stream, they don't even care about us. How much more they are going to segregate and say women in, maybe you are a better place to convince me. Women in menstrual hygiene are separating. Even us, they don't even care. I don't know. I'm just playing the devil advocate. The question is to you to answer.
I agree with your sentiment, Chrissy, because mental health in this part of our world is actually not taken seriously at all. And that is also like a conversation for another day that we're trying to advocate that we should take mental health services, mental health awareness seriously in this part of our world. For us, a lot of things are about, oh, pray it away. It's a demon that's worrying you and all of that. But in relation to our conversation today, how as a Ghanaian society, as a Ghanaian community, we can start incorporating mental health support for women during menstruation. First of all, it has to start with us understanding or even coming into agreement that women suffer some form of mental challenges during menstruation. If as a society we do not believe women and we think, oh, she's just doing too much, oh, she's just being dramatic, is it not just periods? Why can't you chest? There are people who go about telling women, why can't you chest this pain? And why are you making so much noise? And that even is a wrong premise to even begin with. So again and again, for me, it always starts from education. It starts from speaking to one person, convincing one person, letting them know that women go through a lot of psychological changes when it gets to this time of the month. And even with my background as a medical doctor, I could explain, but then we are short of time. The hormones that come to play during this menstrual period is a lot of hormones that are actually working to ensure that this cycle goes around in the way that it should go, right? So it's a lot of hormones in place. And that is even one of the reasons why you would have these mental struggles show up in women during this particular time of the month. You've heard people say a lot of women get moody, some get irritable, some experience physical symptoms as well. So it all boils down to the process. It comes with the process. There's a lot of anxiety as well involved because when you're on your period, you're always on edge. You're not sure if everything is fine. So that anxiety is also another thing that comes with being in your period. So as a society, we need to come to that understanding that women are not just pretending or they don't want to be dramatic, but the hormones and everything involved in this process comes together with its own mental health struggles. So what can we then do to support them or to better support them when they are going through this critical period of their lives, which is a cyclical thing that occurs more, that will keep occurring until the age of menopause. We need to incorporate peer support groups. As a people, we need to come to the understanding that peer support groups are actually important. So I was very happy with Aarona's, can see her advocacy for women living with PCOS. She realized that on her own, she was battling depression, she was battling anxiety and going through a lot. But she could create a community of women who are also going through this. And through that, what do you gain from community? You gain support, you gain shared pain, shared stories of victory. People come together, you share your stories, and then you find inspiration and encouragement from one another. So young girls and women can form peer support groups and start from there. The men should also join these groups, to be honest, to learn and to know how they can support the women during this time. So in such peer support groups, we will learn the mental health challenges that come with periods, and then educate ourselves. Each one will tell their story, and then through that you are uplifted. And then there should also be psychological support. If whether it's in schools or it's in workplaces, there should be at least a counselor or somebody well vexed who has studied these things, who knows what menstrual health is about and the mental health challenges that come with it for women, and should be willing to offer support to women and girls during that time. So if they are in school, they should be able to go to this person as a support or as someone they can confide in or find comforting. So that is also one way. And there's been conversations about advocating for period leave. I made a post recently on LinkedIn and I was asking people's opinion, what they even think about this, giving women period leaves as a form of mental health support, because there are women for whom during that time of the month productivity is so low, they are even not able to perform to their optimal levels. So I am for it. I think that if you need it as a woman, the policy should be there, and then the women who need it should go for it by all means, because menstruation for every woman is very different. There are women who have it more harder than others, and there are women whose symptoms are relatively manageable. So if the policy is available that, should in case you are suffering these challenges during your menstrual health, you can come. We give you room to also have some time off, a bit of time off during the period to take care of yourself, whether maybe we give you the room to work from home, work remotely during that time. I think all these interventions in place, women will feel better supported, and then we can also see progress or see improvements in the kind of world we want to create for women in terms of menstrual hygiene or menstrual health. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate what has been shared. Once again, apologies. We were supposed to end 1 hour ago. I want to read comments, then I come for last words from our speakers. Just 1 minute each from them. I think we have everyone pointer saying that this is a great information. I've learned a lot on PCOS. Wheezy says period poverty is real. The passion among which the speakers on this topic is admirable. Thanks for sharing, Nicholas. So these are some messages that have come in. Thank you very much. Speakers, 1 minute each. We don't want to take our audience time. I'll start with Aarona. First of all, after the 1 minute, tell us how people can reach you. Whether they want to join your peer-to-peer group, and then we'll come to Nicholas, and then Dr. Lizzie will be the last. So in the next 3 minutes, you should be out of here. Thank you very much, Aarona. 1 minute.
Okay, so on how you can reach me on LinkedIn, my name is Afriyie. So you can reach me Afriyie on all social media platforms, Twitter, on Instagram. Just send me a message and I'm always available to answer. So what I would say in my final words is that I am so hard on the PCOS or the PCOS advocacy, and it's not as if it's so distant from the menstrual talk, because the symptoms is with dysmenorrhea and amenorrhea. I don't know if I had it right, doctor, but if I did it, please forgive me. So, how, for instance, mine started was I menstruate over 7 days. So it extends. Sometimes I can menstruate for 21 days. I'll be menstruating, spotting, and doctor can attest to that. For 14 days, you'll be menstruating. And it's all a menstrual issue. So an advocacy on that subject is very low, extremely low. So there's a need for us to hit on that. And it comes with so much pain. Sincerely, I liked it when she talked about the period leave, because personally, when I'm in that time of the month, for the first 2 days, I don't go to work, I don't go to class. And my bosses, before I was employed, I told my bosses, this is my situation, because when it's that time of the month, I'm really immobile. I have to lie down at one place, be drinking soup, and lie down at one place. So first 2 days, I just don't do anything. So it's very crucial that we start understanding that. And sometimes jokingly, my friends at work will say, it's just period. You're exaggerating. What do you need it 2 days for? But it's not just periods. It also stems from the fact that I may be going through it harder than somebody because of my condition with PCOS. So there's a need for us to actually talk about that. And the whole of September worldwide is dedicated to PCOS. And for this year, I'm really making to go out there and really hit on the subject of PCOS. Unfortunately, whenever I send letters to schools, the schools turn me down almost at times, because what they need is we need something that will bring money to us, not something like that. And I don't think it's the best thing to do. So for me personally, I'm really shooting towards going hard this September, when it's PCOS Awareness Month, to do that, because it's really needed. So that's what I would say in my final words. Thank you.
Okay, okay, all right. So thank you very much. I think Triple will also be interested in having that conversation. So let's still link up and see how we can push this agenda, especially on the PCOS as well. Nicholas, your final words and how people can reach you if they want to support your initiative.
All right. Thank you so much. So, first things first, if you want to reach me, you could reach me like directly on LinkedIn, Nicholason Ugwuanyi. You know, I'm proactive on Instagram, mayor underscore of underscore Nsuka. You know, and if you want to connect with what we do, you could basically just go through our official website, www.nminitiative.com. We are proactive on like on Instagram and all of that, so you could easily connect with us from the website. So, in my final words, I'm gonna just close this conversation with leaving us with the fact that menstrual health is not a luxury; it is a right. Let's own it, and we must also realize that the blood that flows each month should never be a reason a girl drops out of school, suffers in silence, or loses her life, just like my friend Monica did. We owe it to the next generation to build a world where dignity is determined by access to sanitary products and menstrual or good menstrual hygiene management. I want to also end by commending every advocate, Triple H Foundation, to Michael Lovely speakers, to all aligned. I want to say thank you for choosing to care, to also to every man listening, to the host, to myself. We belong to this movement, you know, and to every girl battling in silence, whatsoever you're battling with, PCI, whatever it is, mental stress, stigma, taboos, shame. I want you to know that your pain has a voice, and your voice has tremendous power. Together, let's be that generation that ends period poverty for good. Now, lastly, I will just put this prayer out there that may the work of our hands be blessed, and may the stories we have shared today ignite change in every heart. Thank you so much for having me, Triple H Foundation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nicholas Okoye. We are very grateful to have you. Dr. Lizzie, how do we get in touch with you and your final words? Thank you. For free consultation, of course.
Of course. Thank you, Kwasi. Okay, so currently I'm very active on LinkedIn as my full name, Dr. Elizabeth Fovi Quarshie. So you can find me on LinkedIn when you search. That's where I'm currently very active. And my last words, I would like to first of all thank AAA Foundation for creating this very wonderful opportunity for us to have this discussion. Rooms like this create the space we need to talk about these important issues. Like I always maintain wherever I go, women's health is women's rights, and women's rights are human rights. They are not different. Usually, people would like to separate them. They think we have women's issues and then we have men's issues, but they are all together. Whatever affects women affects all humans. And so we should be very, very, very interested in issues that affect women. And period poverty is one of those critical issues that affect women that we should be intentional about. And so I am grateful for the opportunity to speak today. And I'm grateful that AAA Foundation is doing this amazing work of pushing awareness, creating awareness on menstrual health. I see all the work that you are doing. I follow your page on LinkedIn, the all the initiatives that you are putting out there. I see all of them and I want to commend you for that. And then secondly, I would like to touch a bit on Aarona's issue with the PCOS, that indeed it is true that very minimal awareness is known on that. And it is sad because it is not just for the PCOS. When it comes to issues of women's health, there's little awareness, there's little research. I don't know whether because there's no money coming from there, the powers that be are not really interested in pushing their monies to areas concerning women's health. Common conditions like, even aside the PCOS, we have endometriosis, adenomyosis. All these are period related health issues which would normally go underdiagnosed or often misdiagnosed. Women would suffer with very painful periods for so long before these conditions are diagnosed, because their symptoms are often dismissed when they would go to the hospital, just, oh, go and take some painkiller and go and rest, you'll be fine, not knowing that there are deeper underlying health conditions. So moving forward, we should pay more attention to women's health issues, and then drive more conversations towards that as well. And I would like to say that storytelling, as I always maintain, it humanizes data, it gives faces to the stories, the data around, it gives human faces to the stories around menstruation. So we shouldn't end with just online conversation. We shouldn't end with just LinkedIn events. Right where you are, advocacy is possible. Advocacy does not mean that you need to gather an entire bunch of people, go and stand in front of them before you can be considered an advocate. Every day of your life is a day to advocate for women's health. It's a day to advocate for period poverty. Like Aarona said initially when we began, women do not only menstruate in May. It is a cycle that is going on from January to December and continues right throughout. So every day for you when you wake up is menstrual hygiene or period advocacy day. You can talk to that male in your class, you can talk to that child in your house, you can talk to that mother in your community, you can talk to that community leader. Any conversations that you can propagate to help destigmatize menstruation, go ahead and say it. When you're in spaces where people are talking about periods and making it as if it's not a big deal, own up, share your stories, don't be afraid. And then together, that is how we can achieve the theme of together creating the period friendly world, by continuing the conversation far beyond online, taking it to our communities back home, wherever we are. If you're able to convince one person, you've done enough work. I think that it's a good thing that we do that. We remember that in our day-to-day activities as well. So thank you very much, Kwasi. Thank you, AAA, for the opportunity. I am very honored to have been here. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you, our audience. And thank you to our boss, Efua Ponsa, for putting this together. She's a leader worth following. And today, thank you to all the volunteers that made it all the way to Kumasi. God bless you for spending time on a Wednesday and then sharing joy with these young girls. And the workshop was powerful. I really appreciate the work that we've done so far. God bless you, speakers, for sharing knowledge with us. We are very grateful and honored to tap into your insight and your experience. Thank you for the organizers of this. I'm your humble host. Sorry, audience, for taking much of your time. I thank my host for choosing me to be here, and I appreciate everyone that sent comments to us. Thank you very much. We'll meet again. This Triple A will come into your news feed. We'll bring more LinkedIn events just to share knowledge and impact one girl at a time and one part at a time. Thank you very much. My name is Kwasi. Bye bye till we meet again. Bye for now.
Bye.